Welcome to the Chit Chat, a monthly podcast series with Shashi Seshadri. Join us as we sit down with Scube's CEO and co-founder for meaningful conversations about what makes Scube Scube. From answering your questions to welcoming inspiring guest speakers, nothing is off the table. So grab your headphones and a cuppa, settle in, and let's dive into this month's episode of the Chit Chat. Welcome to episode 3. Shashi, this is the first time you have guests joining us today for an episode of the Chit Chat.
Are they? Where are they?
Hello. They're right next to you.
Hello.
They're not guests, are they?
They're family.
Exactly.
Please, can you introduce the family members we have with us for the Chit Chat today?
Should I introduce you as well? Or?
No, I'm the host. I don't need an introduction.
Yeah, but I've never introduced you with my perspective. You just assumed everyone knows who you are.
Oh.
Okay, go. Intro me.
Attack is the best form of defense, Jess. So without any further ado, let me introduce Jess Milligan, Gurvinder Badesha, and Nick Evans. Nick is generally called Nicola only by her mum when she does something that she shouldn't be doing. Of course, there's one or two recent things that I remember that she shouldn't be doing, but I'm not sure her mum's aware of that. I am, though. We'll come to that in a minute.
One of those things is true, not both.
I think there were 3 such things. So, as Jess has kindly asked me to introduce my family, let's start with Jess, because Jess, I think it was roughly this time last year that I met you for the first time. It's been a bit of a tornado of a ride, because you came into the office at roughly 5 o'clock on a day this time last year to meet me for the first time. I was running only a few minutes late from my previous meeting, I think. And you had messed around with the magazines in the office. You made tea for yourself. And I felt like a bit of a guest in my own office. Suffice to say, my dear friends. It's been a good 12 months, isn't it?
It has.
Do you think your smile has got bigger or smaller?
I don't know if it could get any bigger, to be honest. It would be off my face.
But I do think my smile has got bigger, and you've had a big role to play in that. So thank you for the trust in the scheme of things. You're very close. Very, very close. Can you just do that again? It didn't come properly. You keep changing that every time, which is not good. And without any further ado, my dearest soul and conscience sitting with me, Nick and GB. GB looks a lot more cooler, isn't it?
GB always looks cool.
Team GB.
Don't know how you feel about GB. Do you like GB?
Do you like GB?
No, GB is good.
Is it?
It's better than the other one that we started to go down.
We won't mention.
Which one?
Yeah, we all mentioned that one.
Which one?
Well, now we need to know.
Yeah, we're live on a podcast. We need to know, and we can't waste airtime.
Yeah,
K9.
Involved a K9.
Come on.
I think somebody on my left introduced the concept.
Right. What was it called?
G-Dog.
Although there was G-Dog dancing going on.
Oh, well. There was. Maybe that can be G-Dog.
Well, that could
and
be.
he only comes out one night a year.
Did you see that?
That persona
Oh
could
my
be, yes,
goodness,
absolutely.
that was like.
That's G-Dog.
I have never seen him so light on his feet as I saw him on the evening of the winter conference. I'm thinking, flipping heck, what does 25?
Do you wear like an Apple
2025
Watch or
bring?
something? Because I'd love to know your steps from the evening. It must have been off the chart.
Well,
No, he dances to Bal's tune pretty much every day. So let's not go there. That is a different dance altogether, Jazz. Jess, don't go there. Don't
Anyway,
go there. GB. Now, so, which is why I said, both of them are my soul and conscience. Known them for many, many years. We got drunk over a glass of water. I lived in fear of Nick for many years. Still am. Since 2005. I think I know, GB since, 2015?
2016.
So yeah, we sort of go back a long time, and I thought there was absolutely no better way to culminate 2024 with my soul conscience together in the mix.
And can you both remember your first encounter with Shashi and your first
Can you use a different word than encounter?
Encounter. Yeah.
Interaction may be a good one.
The first time you met Shashi.
Yeah.
I can.
Oh, can you? Oh,
Yes.
flipping! I can't. When was that?
You were doing a pitch in the boardroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The dangerous one, 350k reinstatement. Flipping Nick grilled me like anything, I tell you. Go on, say it.
No, I can remember thinking at that time, wow, this guy has got something about him that's different from everybody else. Not just who'd pitched, but also in terms of all of the other people from that sort of supply chain environment. So not just his previous company, but anybody else who'd sort of come in front of us. And I liked the way that the story was told and about what we'd get. And I think our eyes locked in that session, and I thought, yeah, that's somebody that is really impressive.
I love that. What about you, GB?
No, definitely. It was 2016 Utility Week Awards. So I wasn't actually sat on the same table as Shashi, I was sat on a different table. So after all the awards and, all the fun and the dancing stuff starts, so we hadn't bought our dancing shoes that day.
G-Dog wasn't out.
Yeah, G-Dog wasn't out on that particular night.
We had glasses of water with us.
That's right, we had glasses of water, and we sort of ended up sat next on the same table, and there was, I don't think there was anybody else. I can't even remember if there was anybody else actually sat there with us.
Because the rest were doing other things.
Yeah, they were off doing fun stuff, and we just got in. I don't know. We just got chatting, and we got quite deep actually with some of the conversation. I think we must have been sat there for at least a couple of hours.
No, 3-4 hours.
Maybe longer.
Early hours of the morning.
Yeah, it was. It was. And to be able to hit it off like that so quickly, having just met.
It's DMC.
Yeah, you two love a DMC.
Yeah, we do get quite deep on a number of stuff.
Deep, meaningful chats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Invariably gets there.
Yeah. I think it was like DMC the band or
Well, we're working towards
that.
We're working towards
the
dance
routine.
routine.
So I constantly have to clarify. Yeah. Since coming into the utilities industry, I don't understand every other word that comes out of people's mouths.
It's wait till your children are teenagers, then you'll understand.
Yeah. Then I won't know anything they're saying. And so you've both been on a journey with Shashi, different ones. When you look back at the time you've spent with him over the years, how do you think your relationship has changed with him, if at all?
It's a really good question. But has it changed? I think it's just grown and matured, to be honest. I think, as I said earlier, that connection, I think, was there right from the start. You obviously, as you get to know people a bit more, you pick up a few nuances, etc., in terms of patterns of behaviour and alike.
This is only 5 minutes in.
No, but I think it has. I think it's just got stronger, actually, because I think being able to be straight, being able to be authentic, saying things as it is, and that's what I value. Shashi talks quite straight with me, and I like to think I talk quite straight back with him as well.
Yeah.
It is definitely a two-way process.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think you get that understanding between each other, and then you can sort of, you roll with it. And again, body language as well. You get to the point where actually you can sort of second guess what the thought process is.
Yeah.
Just by the expressions, just by how somebody is. So yeah, I think it's just matured and got stronger.
Yeah, and I think for Scubas, we can learn a lot from your relationship because you do know each other so well. And even little things like when you sat down, I said, pick a seat. And you said, I'm going to sit here so that I can look into his eyes, and little things like that. But they're good points that for Scubas who don't know Shashi so well, it's good to pick up and remind us, look, it's not just about what someone's saying.
Absolutely.
It's also about their body language. It's about what they're saying with their eyes. Yeah. All of that. So
yeah, it's all really important, all the visual signs as much as actually, like you said, the verbal piece.
Yeah, really important as we're sat recording a podcast. What about you, Nick?
Ours is, again, evolved as relationships do. I think we've gone from being sort of a very professional and formal interaction in years gone by to, I remember when I left Wales and West Utilities, I received a random message from Shashi, as he quite often does to people, and it really touched me. And he wasn't the only person who'd done that, but I think that the other people who'd done it, I was very close to, and I think our relationship evolved from there. And when Shashi and Indu were just starting out, I used to play a bit of a red team for Shashi and his proposals and ideas, and met up a couple of times with Tony, Vince and Shashi, and you know.
It was part of the interview process.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. And we just stayed in touch, and but you know, I think the dynamic changes when you come to work for somebody, but actually I never felt that formality. I always sort of felt that I was part of a family, and you know, Shashi and Indu have been massively here for me in the last few years, and you know, I like to think I've been there for them as well. And again, I think there's an honesty in our relationship, and you know, long may that continue and get stronger, as I'm sure it absolutely will.
I think especially for female scubas, you're going to absolutely hate me saying this and cringe for days, but you are a very powerful woman in the utilities industry. I see you as a very strong female leadership figure. And so it's really nice for other women to see your relationship with Shashi and how that differs. You know, there's different nuances to it, but it's great that someone is, you know, so senior, but also a woman. So I love seeing your relationship. I'm always watching in the corner. And I was also slightly intimidated by Nick when I first met her, which I know you would hate to know. But
that's the right feeling.
Yeah, it's like this aura of,
Nick has that natural effect, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. Yeah. I remember we were going to have a Teams call and I was working from home, and I said to my husband, get out the room. I'm about to join a call with Nick. She is one of the most important people at Cube. And then you joined and you were like, hi, Jess, how are you? And Dan came back in afterwards and he was like, I'm sorry, is that the woman you were scared of? I know. You are so lovely.
It's so funny. There was a rumour once that if I wore my hair up, that I was in a particularly hot, on it, bad mood. The reality was my hair was just dirty and I couldn't be bothered to wash it and do it. So,
I love
it's
that.
funny how there are these perceptions. But I think I always have quite a determined look on my face if I'm in the zone, and maybe that's what gives off that aura. I don't know.
Yeah. And they both bring different traits to you as a CEO. You know, you lean on them for different things.
Yeah.
How has that changed over the years, or has it not?
No, I mean, it hasn't. I think the way in both relationships I've been is exactly the way I have been. So that there hasn't been an iota of change, because I think with both GB and Nick, I can just say anything as I feel in my head, because I get feedback. So it's very important when you are running a business and you're in so many moments that actually you need a lot of feedback. You know, the common person only sees a decision made and thinks, oh, he's called it. But actually it's not. I don't make decisions on the spur of moments. There's always a thought process behind it. There's always a conversation behind it. There's a rationale behind it. The rationale is tested. Views are sought. Perspectives are sought. Not always you have the whole iota of time to be able to go through it in a very structured way, isn't it? But I think I'd definitely like to believe that if not both, at least one of the two of them at any given point in time on pretty much everything, there is a conversation that is had. Things won't just land like that, because you can't forget about running a business, you can't run relationships like that. You can't just land messages in a relationship. You got to work through the narrative of it. So I go where I get feedback, because if everyone just says yes or no, and you can't really get the fabric of the conversation, then it is very difficult to get that. And equally, both of them, I can see their eyes and I know exactly what's happening. So I can smell as I'm talking through, where is that message landing? Is it curious? Is it not curious? Is it immediately saying, flipping, don't go down that rabbit hole? or I'm eager to say something. Is there a happiness in the eyes? So there's a lot of that texture, which I think, as GB said, we just understand each other in terms of body language in the scheme of things. We also, all three of us, have our touch me not moments.
Touch me not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There are days which are extremely intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, extremely intense. And it is quite possible any one of the three of us is in a zone.
Yeah.
And that zone is a very intense zone. Yeah, you touch, you'll get fired. And that happens in leadership, you're running a shift, you're running a very intense piece. At that point in time, you don't tickle. Yeah, you don't tickle down the wrong corridor. And I think that level of EQ is very important in leadership. So, and that also comes with respect. It doesn't matter who's working for whom. I think that understanding of, are we in a zone, are we not in a zone, is it an intense piece where I also need to give them their space on something, I think is important. So there are moments where sometimes I'll make a tea for GB. Sometimes I'll walk around and there's a Diet Coke left or whatever. So I have my ways of softening my blows, because then slowly I'll get opportunity to squeeze my points in. Otherwise, no, I do make teas without vested interest. But sometimes when you're in a zone, you have to find your small little gaps to sort of creep in. And equally, they do the same in different ways,
Yeah, I think that's true. I think Shashi always... so not only is the relationship been as we've just described, but I think it's also been a sort of mentoring and reverse mentoring between the three of us as well as we've gone along. Actually, Gurvinder and I have a lot of side conversations between the two of us, just to sort of sound each other out. Are we on the right tracks? Are we not on the right tracks? How do we keep consistent in terms of the things that we do? But, one of my bits of feedback from Shashi is I always have to have the last word. Nobody else has ever pointed that out to me. Probably too scared to address, but I know.
Yeah, I think Ralph included.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. But I've noticed since then he's absolutely right. And there's times now when I'm desperate to say something, but I'll hang back and see what fills the space on that. And so the relationship has been brilliant in terms of mentoring and getting to know each other and knowing, when is the right time to turn around and give the feedback or push a point or to leave space in the air. And I think that has become a lot more natural. And, I know we talked yesterday in the conference about the power of feedback, but, such simple feedback has had a huge impact on me. So that's the type of thing you get when you've got a relationship this close. You grow as a person as a result of it.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I think equally you've got to be vulnerable. So to be open with each other, you've got to be vulnerable, right? And that then enables your authentic self to come through, which then enables that relationship to be stronger. And I think that's something I try in all my interactions with others as well to try and really encourage. We should, unless you open up about yourself, you're never going to allow somebody in. And if you don't allow somebody in, they're not going to understand how you think, how you work, why you do things the way you do. And I think that's something, the more we start to do that, that's the bit, that's what I love about Scube. In all the other organisations I've worked and with senior leaders, there's always been a political dimension. And we don't have that here. We actually don't tolerate it here, which we go even further. Which means you can be yourself. So then actually, what's to worry about? Then let's crack on. Let's have those engaging conversations. Let's challenge each other in a constructive manner. And let's get on and make stuff happen.
And for Scubers, obviously we only see you all in the office. So it's interesting to hear about the side conversations that are going on because, you're all coming and going. You're in different places at different times. So how do you maintain that kind of those consistent touch points? Is it through phone conversations? Do you regroup, like with OPCO and things like that? You use that as a touch point. How do you make sure you're constantly singing from the same hymn sheet?
I think it's a combination of a lot of those things. So whether it's, your WhatsApp channels, Teams channels.
Is there an OPCO WhatsApp?
Yeah, it's just been created 2 days back. by the way.
Has it?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called OPCO.
We'll work on that.
It's got a nice picture though.
Has it?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
good.
Which one? I updated it this morning.
Oh,
So,
which one is it?
Uh,
Okay, you don't have to tell me.
No, it's the one we took on the night of the Christmas party
Oh.
when we were all on stage
Oh,
and stuff.
lovely.
The backdrop was like brilliant. I mean, there was one prior to that, which was on the day of
The one in front of the Scube.
yeah,
Sign.
one of the social happiness
Social
days
happiness day ones, yeah.
that we took one. So
Yeah.
that's what it was.
And
Okay.
is that WhatsApp group pure work, or are there the occasional gifts, or what are we talking?
It's only 3 days since
Okay,
it's on.
fine. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Come back
what,
for episode 4.
What goes into it? But I think that's because we don't think we need a WhatsApp group. I'm notorious for creating groups like that, and then one day I'll just disappear from the group because I'll think it's boring. So that's why this time I'm not the admin in that group, so I can't add or delete anyone. And Rob keeps us honest with it. But I think the thing is we all thrive on different channels. It's not the same channel. And I think the same is true of our other OPCO colleagues as well, because we all have different methods in the madness, and it's important we respect the method, because if we just put one method, one consistent method that I think all of us accept, which is not most effective, is emails. So in fact, even including DOA, we're thinking of not, definitely in the next quarter, we'll ensure we don't have that many emails floating around us saying approved. We want to get that into a bit of a Power BI workflow that carries on. Because it's not the best use of anyone's time sitting and clearing hundreds of emails that are not the best. 2 minutes, 3 minutes is still painful. Sometimes you need to add value to your time. So.
And is there any place or location that is special to you both? I'm just thinking, I have left the office before and seen the two of you beginning. I can spot the signs a little bit now when it's going to get into a DMC. Is it those late nights in the office?
It's good she observes us.
I do.
We're being watched, Shashi. We've got to be
good.
careful.
Is there anywhere, I don't know, that is like your place that you would go to?
I think it's about, for me anyway, it's about who you're with, not where you are.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the whole office is a safe space. Equally, we've probably had some of our most meaningful chats on the telephone, while I'm driving, or...
Yeah, but some of
Sat
it is
in
not
your-
even planned, isn't it?
Exactly.
We don't even put time. We're not like we put a diary slot saying DMC. I think DMCs don't happen like that.
No.
Honest conversations just build on.
Yeah.
You go, you're sitting with something, you have a conversation, then suddenly it moves to a next space. Unless the world is burning and we know we need to get out into a meeting or call or whatever. I think some spaces we just logically traverse.
I 100% agree. I think
Yeah.
most of the planned stuff ends up being the more sort of transactional type stuff that we need to do and get involved in. I think the ad hoc on the spur of the moment stuff,
Yeah.
because that enables you to just explore.
Yeah.
You let the conversation flow.
Yeah.
You're slightly liberated in your thinking. And they're the best conversations, I think.
And even, we've been doing some reflection around, what does OPCO look like next year? And even in that formal sort of interaction, I think my mantra has been, let's leave ourselves plenty of an agenda time so that we can have some of these more open conversations. And I think we heard how important that was over the last few days as well, which is great.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think some of those most meaningful conversations that resonate with you are the ones that catch you off guard almost, and you didn't know it was coming. For a lot of scubas, they see you both as powerhouses within your field. We were talking about this episode, the Powerhouse edition. You're both cringing internally, and I can tell. But I'd be interested to know for you both.
I think they are.
They are. They absolutely
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I just know they don't take compliments very well. Nick's looking at me like, stop talking. But for you both, what does being a powerhouse in your field mean? What does it mean to you?
God, I've never thought of myself as a powerhouse, for one. Just absolutely
I remember when
not.
I first met you, you took me in a booth. It was like day 2 at Scube, and you sat me down because we had all those intro chats with people, and I immediately thought of you as a powerhouse.
Wow.
You were running through your career history. You were talking about how you got to a point where you never wanted to be one of those grumpy old men.
Yeah.
And you recognised it and you changed something. And I thought that is an absolute powerhouse, to have that assertiveness, that drive to just change the status quo, switch it up. So from like day 2, Gurvinder, I was like, this man.
GB.
Is a powerhouse.
Wow. Well, that's lovely to hear, Jess.
But I disagree.
Well, no, it's not that I disagree. I think
It took 12 months to come out.
to come out. Yeah, okay, that's right. But we'll work on that. But it goes back to what I said before, right? I think it is. I have to be true to myself. That's just part of my natural piece, right? If I'm not at ease with myself, then that's a problem. I can't try to pretend to be something. So, and I do self-reflect quite a lot. So that self-awareness piece, I'm tuned in with that, just in terms of my own compass piece. So I just try and therefore then talk to people in a very straight way, and say things very openly. And it goes back to a bit of that vulnerability piece, because not everything I've done in my career, if I look back, I would sort of say not everything worked, but that's okay. Yeah, not everything went the way I potentially may have wanted it to go, and sometimes you've got to go around the roundabout a couple of times before you take your exit. So I think it does go back to being, how do I be the best version of me? And if that resonates with somebody, absolutely fantastic. If it doesn't, that's okay as well, right? We don't have to get on with everybody. We all have different personality traits, but actually we have to have respect for each other. We have to respect those different views and perspectives, and that's really important. So if that's what defines a powerhouse, then fair enough. But like I said, I don't necessarily subscribe to that.
We're not going to get badges, Nick, put it that way, Jess.
What about you, Nick? Powerhouse.
Powerhouse, Nick.
Nick the powerhouse.
I guess similar and maybe slightly different as well. So I think for me, I've always been very sort of results orientated, very, very performance orientated. And I think whenever I'm doing something, I think, is that going to get me on the path to the result that I'm looking for? And that's in personal life, and always been in work life as well. And that's from a business perspective and also from a sort of personal success perspective. I think coupled with that, I massively love people. I draw my energy from people. People always think I'm very extrovert, but I'm not. I just talk a lot. But I think introvertly, but I actually just draw energy from other people's ideas. I always sort of say I'm not that creative, but what I can do is pick out the gold from the creative people and make it happen. And I think that's my sort of strength that makes me a superpower. And I just love spending that time with people, and I love seeing people succeed. So, investing in, supporting, stretching people around me is part of what makes me tick. And then I think, as Gurvinder sort of said, that sort of personal integrity. Am I doing the right thing? And at times that has, probably brought me into conflict with people at various levels, because, I passionately believe I'm doing the right thing for the business or for consumers or whatever it is. And, and I'll fiercely get behind what I'm passionate about and put my case forward for it. And I think sometimes that can be seen as, as Jess put it yesterday, pushing people through doors rather than opening. And I think you refine that with time, then. You refine your influence in technique with time. And I think the other thing about being a powerhouse is that wanting to challenge the status quo. And I've you don't be a female apprentice 35 years ago without wanting to challenge the status quo, and I think there's an inherent part of me that likes to do that.
What about you, Shashi? The ultimate powerhouse, some might say.
You didn't say that. You're just now making it up. They are the powerhouses. I'm just an enabler to making that happen. And I think that's true. Being an enabler is a good thing. You don't need to be one that stands tall doing things, saying things in the scheme of things. I think my job is to enable, which is why I like to direct a film. I don't like to be in the film. But I think that is what business is about. When you lead a business, you don't need to have all the answers, but you need to have the conviction of the journey, and you need to have the conviction of ensuring people with you on the journey also believe in that journey. So as long as we do that, and as long as the core value principles are strong, like, integrity is absolutely 100% with them at all times. There's nothing called at work, outside of work. It's 100% at all times. When you talk about, collaboration and a whole non-political approach, it's 100% at all times. Which is why even if someone said to me, so-and-so said so-and-so, I would first always put it to that the big picture or the entire picture has not been seen by them. And that could be for a variety of reasons. Either it was not demonstrated, either it was partly put, either they genuinely didn't know about it, etc., etc. And many times it is a conversation. It is never about a judgment. Because when you have your principles strong and everyone knows the principles, there is absolutely no way any narrative or conversation will be misinterpreted. No chance. And I think that's my message to all the scubers, that, when Nick runs gas, Gurvinder runs water, they are our biggest delivery portfolios. It is not by accident that we have them leading the businesses. Their integrity, the principles, the values are rock solid. Yeah, any time of the day, any time of the week, any time of the year, just any time in their lifetime. It is absolutely rock solid. And that's what you want. You want solid revenue portfolios to have leadership that is rock solid. I think the journey we all are on is to ensure we have the right capability that supports it. Because they don't need to have everything themselves. They don't need to. It's the same way like I don't need to. But when we have people around us, and our openness should be, and that's the constant conversation we always have, is, Nick tries to look for stability, whereas I always look for instability, and that's our constant conversation. I think with GB and I, it is always about, we've landed something, and then how much time do we give it for it to totally land in the scheme of things. And it is a balance. It's never like my answer is the right answer. It is always a conversation. It's the situation, perspectives. But enabling the right skills and capability around us and the right structural fabric around us is vital for Scube as we go forward. And I think that I want every Scuber to take away in terms of the leadership that they're working with, because that is unparalleled, I think. It's very, very difficult to get that degree of consistency in values. And that has taken us a while to get there, but I think we've got that in the scheme of things, and that's that is one of the key foundational pillars as we go forward.
I have heard the nickname gassy water being thrown around the office, which, even though I mock them relentlessly, Scubers from the gas team and from the water team have been sitting together in the office. And they call themselves Gassy Water. It's a terrible nickname, but I love the collaboration behind it. Gassy Water. I've also walked past a water meeting room before and seen Jack England sat in the middle of the room, and it made me do a double take. And I said to him afterwards, "Were you lost?" But he said, "No, I was just interested in hearing what the water team were getting up to." How can we encourage Scubers to challenge the status quo even more and not just see us all as, I'm in the gas team, I'm in the water team?
So I think if you look at some of the discussion at the conference last couple of days, right, the word curiosity came up time and time again. And I think my piece equally as well is, first and foremost, you're a scuba. So there's a bit about understanding what that actually means. You know, the portfolio piece of your team becomes second, third, etc., and so forth. First and foremost, you're a scuba. So actually that curiosity in terms of what's going on elsewhere in the business, whether that's driven by your own potential developmental journey and where that might take you, whether it's just a bit of intrigue in terms of what else is actually happening. I think I'd really encourage that. I think we just need to do more of it. I think we do it. I don't think we do it enough. I think there's so much more for us to go at. And that's where, when I look at the future, what excites me is, you know, as much as we've grown so quickly and what we've done, there's so much we can be better at. And as we get better at that, our opportunities and everything else are, you know, will increase even further. And the opportunities then for each individual who's part of that journey equally do, you know, multiply. So I think there's a bit of that inquisitiveness, you know, have those conversations. And you think about this place, this fantastic place that we've got, you know, that it was designed and centered around enabling that collaboration to happen and to take place. So let's leverage it. Let's use it.
And I think for me, stitching those last two conversations together, so, you know, as well as it being driven by the individual, we've got a huge growth agenda over the next 4 or 5 years and beyond. As an OpCo team, we need to give some serious time to. So we don't just wear a portfolio hat, we wear an OpCo hat, and we need some more capacity to be wearing that hat going forward. So I think part of it will be that from the, you know, from our level, that people are seeing that collaboration more and more, and I think it's important because then that has a ripple effect, doesn't it? So I think there's that aspect of it that's important. But I think the other thing, going back to, you know, the disruption and not being stable, I don't think people should see themselves as gas or water. I think they should see themselves as a scuba who happens to be on a particular project or in a particular portfolio now. And 100%. What we all need to get used to is, you know, I went and pitched in a water meeting earlier this year that Gurvinder wasn't in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So, and I think, again, demonstrating and showcasing and leading by example is what's important for us.
And the collaboration on asset maintenance that we're talking about in
Absolutely.
Southern Water, you know, we're actually building on the journey in Cadent, and the capability of the team that we're pulling together will be a couple of individuals and, you know, members who've had experience in Nick's team to be able to do that. And, you know, and I think that's where, you know, one of the changes with the future operating model has to be where there's a degree of specialism we look at that is sector specific. There's then a degree of specialism we look at which is functional. And then you blend it with the, you know, the management, the business analysis, the data analysis, the tech, etc., etc. And I think somewhere it's that sort of a 3-layered operating model. I'm getting that's exactly what I was looking in my head as we've been doing this, because I've been trying to draw this picture for a few weeks now. But I think it's this 3-layered operating model that we need.
Plus
to
Shashi telling us
connect.
we've got a new job.
Yeah.
Disrupting.
Because what that does is it fuels more things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It expands, it fuels more things.
Yeah.
And then when you bring in, at the moment, what we don't have is, well, we have, but we don't talk about it enough, is that sectoral specialism and the functional specialism.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is our solutioning is somewhere hidden between the generalist and the specialist. No one actually is holding the pen on it. Whereas if we actually carve that out cleanly, I think we can hold the pen better on solutioning. Then we can hold the pen better on execution. And then growth becomes a consequence of both of these coming together. I think we're on to something here.
I don't know whether I should be
spitballing
excited
session.
or scared for you both.
No. But to be honest, this is one that we've been brainstorming for
Yeah,
a
we
while
have.
now. To be honest, it's how do you how do you think about moving? But that's what Scube is about.
Mm-hmm.
Scube is about that.
Mm-hmm.
Scube is about that. I mean, every 6 months in Scube there is change.
Mm.
I said that in the summer. I said that last
Mhm.
Christmas. As we going into this Christmas, you come back on the other end of it. There will be something evolving. Because that's what it
I
is.
think that's why at the conference, a relatively new scuba said, I've been here a month, but it feels a lot longer, and everyone laughed. But everyone says that when they join Scube,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the second you join, there's so much change, there's so much going on in a good way that you feel like you've been a part of the family forever.
And I think that level of change is required. It's imminent in today's society and today's world that we live in. Because let's put it like this, right? Social media is so prevalent. Change can happen in minutes. Within 1 hour, you can pull someone down or pull someone up, because that is the power of perception, and that is the power of the narrative. And I think if we very humbly look at it as a positive fuel to power our growth, I think we should not be afraid to make decisions and ensure we stick to them and move forward with them. Which is why I will say to every scuba that when there are comments, there are feedback, etc. given, I think don't always draw parallel to what you see, whether it's a client organization or your own previous organization, and then benchmark that, because I think the journey we're on is going to be a lot more agile and faster and different than perhaps what what many people have experienced in their career till date.
Yeah.
I think we've got to support. I think we have to support our scubas with that, because a lot of them will come from that traditional, stable background, and that's not how we do things around here. So recognizing that there's a transition that I went through, and I'm sure you guys did as well, in terms of but recognizing that's different for each individual, and again, almost back to that relationship and the body language and all of that, knowing our scubas and knowing how to support them through the change or not, as the case may be. I think that's incredibly important for us as the OPCO team.
Yeah, no, fully echo that. I mean, one of the things I'm most proud of at Scube is we are not a traditional business. That's why a lot of us are here, because we are not that traditional business, to Nick's point. So actually challenging some of those biases we have, some of those preconceptions in terms of how things need to be, challenging the status quo. So one of many reflections from the conference for me, when I was driving back from it yesterday, was actually the board session we had in the afternoon. And Nick, from the BGF investment point of view, when he was talking about what he would traditionally do as an investor sat around that table, and the fact that actually he doesn't need to do that here, I felt really good then, because I thought, this is somebody who gets the pulse of this business. He's already grabbed that, he's understood it. And he's understood, therefore, then actually how he needs to play into that space to be more effective. And for somebody at that level to pick that up relatively quickly, I think is a real plus. And it's a testament to all scubas to some extent, that actually we've been able to sort of be our true selves in that space, and they've seen that. So I think constantly challenging that status quo. We don't want to be a traditional business. I have no interest in being the traditional piece. The rule book is there to be rewritten. We need to carry on rewriting it.
Grumpy old man wouldn't suit you.
Grumpy old man. I'm just not going to be there.
And a bit as you both were speaking, what I was reflecting is, one of the comments that came on ESAT is, there is a lot of politics in OPCO. But actually, what my reflection is, we talk so straight. As in, I can say something about Nick when Nick is not there. which in a very traditional outfit may look like it's politics. Sorry, it's politics, right? I'm bitching about someone when they're not there, or I talk about you when. But actually, the fact that we can be very honest and talk about each other is a little scary to a common scuba who may see us and say, oh, flipping heck, that person was not there and he said something about it. But I think that's a very traditional behavior. If we all trust each other, what is the problem? Because what I would expect, which is what I do with my opco, is if I am having a very intense conversation on a particular chit chat, let's say with GB for instance, or with Nick, and let's say the conversation strays into an adjacent space which is either of their spaces when they're not around, I actually expect the other person to go and speak to the other one.
And we do.
And they do. Yeah, it's not politics. It's a method, because I don't have the time to have. I mean, many a times, even if you have the time, you don't get the mood of the conversation, isn't it? Because suddenly, can you imagine we've suddenly gone down something, and then suddenly you have to get back to that same place. You can't get back to the same place. So actually, my reflection is, it is not politics, because some of those, when we as OPCO have read through the 625 comments, we don't get it. We're not understanding what have we done that feels political. It's not. I mean, I crack 10 jokes on Andy, which may look like I'm on his back every time, but actually, to be honest, I absolutely love the chap. 100% on any given day, any given month, for how much he flipping frustrates me. It's on air, he'll hear it, which he won't be surprised by. But he knows I got his back every minute of the day, because his soul is so pure that even in Affinity Water, when we worked, we misread him, because we never had the opportunity to understand his soul. Once you get who he is as a person, actually there's no way you will not love the guy, because that is how simple he is. And the good thing is, he listens like he's bought a car now, isn't it? I mean, that's like 2024 made for me in the scheme of things, because it's that sort of intensity that each one of us in OPCO brings. And it is not political. It is absolutely a simple, straight conversation. Because we don't have the time for anything apart from that. And if we have our battles, we fight. Right? In OPCO, we've had tremendous battles, isn't it? Umpteen. And it's proper battles. It's not small battles. Proper. Hard. Hard battles. But we come out of it stronger.
But also, we've had this conversation many a time. You don't sit there politely with your immediate family, not saying what's on your mind and not giving the feedback about what you love or what's disappointed you, and that's a very real relationship, and that is exactly, for me, what it feels like. It feels exactly the same in that, don't talk to me today, Shashi, Gurvinder, I can't look at you, or my God, that was flipping brilliant, or keep going, I got your back. So there's some very honest and real emotions, the same as you'd experience in your immediate
100%.
family.
100%.
Last question. I'm going to give the floor to you, Shashi, to close out episode 3, our last episode of the Chit Chat for 2024.
Who do you love the most, Jess, between the three of us?
Oh my goodness, don't ask that. There's no answer to that.
Why not?
Because I love you all in different ways.
Keep building on that.
Oh, I'm giving you the final word here. Don't put it back on me.
Okay. I'm troubling you. So.
You chose these two people to be the first guest speakers. Was there a reason behind that, and do you have any final thoughts or reflections to share with them?
I'll be honest about it, right? They were in the first choice, isn't it? Because the first choice was, we wanted to worry about who was Scuba 003. So I'll be honest. And I'll be honest, there wasn't a lot of thought that went into the first choice. But the thing was,
None taken.
simple to be straight. No, why unnecessarily complicate?
They tell us that at the end, right?
Too much emotions and drama. We didn't put thought into it. What we felt was that Scuba 003 conversation was a very cheesy one. So, and it's been doing the rounds for a while.
That's right.
So we said getting Tony and Vince in would be good.
We've put that to bed now.
Yeah. So what happened was Tony's now had to be at Southeast Water today.
Yeah.
Which moved from a Teams call to an in-person one.
yeah.
So he dropped out. And to be honest, then at that point in time, there was absolutely no idea 003 suspense would be broken in the winter conference.
Yeah, it's a good job we didn't.
Yeah.
Actually.
So the first thing we did was we cancelled the the podcast. So I said to just cancel the invite. Let me think. That was the first time I thought. Otherwise, I didn't think about 00. 003 was like on our mind. But then when I thought, I was thinking who best to really bring along, isn't it? And that's where I checked in with both of you. To be honest, Nick wouldn't have been here on a Friday. Thankfully, she was able to move her things around. Because as I thought through, I said I couldn't come up with any other combination that would fit the bill first. Because I think they are the best. They are my right and left hand in the scheme of things. I say soul and conscience, but it's good no one has asked whose soul, whose conscience, because they are soul and conscience in their own right. So at different points in time, you get different pieces. So it's not like one is soul, one is conscience. You got soul and conscience in both of them in the scheme of things. Top it up with a bit of integrity and hard work. Top it up with a bit of honesty. Top it up with a bit of authenticity. And you get a perfect blend of a concoction that is very tasty. So I rely on them for everything. So there was no other reason for anyone else to be in the mix. And I'm sure when you ask me this question about my other OPCO colleagues, I'll give you a different metaphor. Because every finger is different in my leadership team. No finger is the same. Everyone has a different blend of something they bring to it. They are absolutely not the same, even with each other, which is why understanding the OPCO combination is not an easy piece. It is very deep to understand why this team has come together like this. It is a very deep conversation. It is one where I have a few ruffles with Ronnie quite regularly, because Ronnie very rightfully is keen to run at pace and is keen to slot an answer in a formula that has worked very well for him. I'm working closely with him to redefine the formula, because the answer has to slot a formula that's very skewed. And I think the last 2 days was brilliant, because when I had a bite with him, he was still reflecting on the cultural fabric and things like that. But that's what it is, he's been here for 6 months, we've been here for 6 years.
Yeah.
And we know each other for 10 years. So whether you see that as a strength or a weakness, and if you see that as a weakness, you plug it to make it a strength. So I firmly believe in playing to strengths. So keeping it simple. So anytime we look at each other saying, this is getting into a complex piece, we got to come back, break it back again in the scheme of things. So yeah, they absolutely are my soul and conscience in different parts. They make me what I am, and I have absolutely no doubt that as I selfishly lean into them on all personal aspects and get very deep on it, that professionally we will continue to make Skube a smashing place in 2025 and the years ahead. So last thoughts.
Last word, people. Nick.
Sentence is fine. Sentences is okay as well.
Bring on 2025.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Yeah, fully echo that. Super excited for not just where we've been, but actually where we're about to go. Yeah.
Nick, Gurvinder, thank you very much for your time. Shashi, thank you.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
And the same to everyone who's listening to this podcast on all our behalf. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Last word.
You got the last one in, Nick.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Chit Chat. If you have a question for Shashi, send it to jessica.milligan@skube.uk. Join us next month for more thought-provoking discussions and behind-the-scenes insights into our company. Until then, stay curious and have a chit chat. Let's keep the conversation going.